Woe to those who substitute evil for good and good for evil, light for dark, dark for light, bitter for sweet, sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes. In Isaiah 5:20-21. I repeat it all the time, but it needs to be re-mentioned, because every day in the news cycle, if you're paying attention to anything, you're seeing that play out. And now it's with, I feel like, a lot of red herrings, a lot of low-lying fruit and bait to get Christians in an uproar, like with these two boxers who everyone's saying are biological males. I don't even know if that is the case, if it was some sort of weird anomaly with their chromosomes being XY, but they are intentionally clouding the facts to get people to jump to conclusions and to get into a hysteria, to inflame the masses on either side of a very important argument. But let's say we know that there are biological males competing against biological females all over. We've seen the Leah Thomases, we've seen other cases all over, especially in high schools and colleges. But the IOC, who decided to go against the World Boxing Federation's ruling to disqualify these two boxers, Khalif, who just won in 46 seconds when her opponent submitted, and then wouldn't shake her hand, but then today she backtracked from that and she said, I should have, I didn't plan on doing that, basically she backtracked on everything that she stood up for, and who knows why, if the woke mob got to her. But the IOC, this is the big problem. This is like the real issue with good becoming evil and becoming normalized. They say that this year's Olympics was going to be to welcome, to be wide open. And they wanted to encourage open inclusivity. They said no sports or athletes should be discriminated against from participating in sport. That's what the IOC said. There should be no discrimination from somebody participating in sport. But it's such a straw man argument, because there is not. Not everything in life is always fair. There are abnormalities, there are anomalies, but by and large, we can agree that biological men should not be competing against women, and yet they've normalized that, and they have people who are openly practicing sinful lifestyles, promoting it and profiting from their success in female sports, while saying they should be paid the same and all these other things the same as men. They want all the same benefits as men, but they're not willing to face men. If they faced men, they would not make it. So there's Nikki Hiltz. She's a runner. She was born female. She identifies as non-binary. She's competing against women. Why does she choose to compete against women if she's non-binary? So some days she might feel like a man. Why not face against the men? Obviously, we know why. And I'm not trying to call anybody out or be mean or judgmental, but it's common sense. But when people are wise in their own eyes, and really when they get wise, they get deceiving and nefarious and try to supplant the wisdom that God already provided us in His Word. When He told us that we were born male and female, that male is not to lay with male, female not to lay with males, nor animals, nor anything else. All this stuff that does happen in some of the wicked lifestyles that are out there. I'm sure one day some of that will be, they'll try to get that normal, as they've been trying to normalize pedophilia. But it's like, this is the focus now. But again, we would not have ever been able to get to this point if they hadn't already normalized sex outside of marriage, promiscuity. Because I grew up in a generation where every movie was making very offensive jokes, whether it's to what is now the LGBTQ crowd, like using certain words, slang that used to be very normal and laughed at. Now you're canceled if you use them. But they normalized having sex outside of marriage, just sleeping with as many people as you want. When I was in school, the big thing was practice safe sex, have condoms, and do this and that. So they had to normalize that, especially amongst believers, before they could get us to the point where they normalize everything else. And that is good becoming evil, evil becoming good, because now it's promoted as being inclusive and loving to promote people and affirm them for living a lifestyle that we were never intended to. We should not be promoting transgender, much less. Look, the fact that they're allowing men to fight against women is just a disgrace. And really, it should be a slap in the face to anybody who doesn't stand up against that. But people don't want to They don't want to get in the fight. But one day we will be judged for our fight or lack thereof. And silence is an answer. Silence is a way of showing God where your allegiance is to. And there's a lot of people who are just being silent, knowing that their conscience is telling them something's not right about this, but they're not willing to say something because the world is so normalized things that were not supposed to be normal under God's eyes and under his creation. So it's just a shame that many people believe that what the IOC says, they will not discriminate against any athlete from participating the way they see fit, as if the way they feel trumps any scientific or biological fact of how we were born and the wide range of benefits that come with being born with that Y chromosome. You can't try to debunk faith using science and then still try to destroy faith using feelings and ignoring science. It's just a complete mystification of truth, complete disinformation campaign, and they just mix the truth with the lies. They whip it around, they get everybody into a dizzy and everybody antagonizing, rather than having people who see the truth, the spiritual truth, just respond with love and try to respond with grace and not take the low-lying fruit and jumping on the bandwagon of, oh, this is ridiculous, somebody, like, this is travesty, and getting angry. Because when you get angry, which I can do sometimes, and then I'm like repenting, and I'm like, I know I can't reach anybody when I'm angry. But when you can speak calmly with grace, maybe you can pierce a heart that's been hardened by this world, and they can see the spiritual reality that things that God intended are completely being reversed. And that's why they are trying to set up the kingdom, the new world order, with all these agendas being pushed for the Antichrist, because it's the antithesis of everything Jesus Christ stood for and died for, so that we would not have to pay the penalty when we are deceived. But if you're deceived to the point of not repenting, that's where the real problem lies. If they convince you that there is no God and that Jesus didn't die for you and that you are loved and God is all inclusive and he doesn't require us to repent from sin, which just means to turn to him, receive that love, understand that love. You can only do that if you're in a relationship with him, in his word, with other believers, to then realize the way I'm living does not glorify the God that created me. So anyway, it is what it is. It's all love and tolerance, but that's flipping the truth upside down. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.